He had a choice to either die or become a monster. But why? This is the story of the man who turned himself into a monster. Victor was a brilliant scientist who dedicated his life to finding the secret to immortality. He believed that death was just a disease that could be cured with science. And he spent years studying the human body, trying to figure out how to make it live forever. One day, Victor made a breakthrough. He discovered a way to transfer the consciousness of one person into another person's body. He believed that this would allow a person to live forever by transferring their consciousness into a new body every time they died. Victor was so excited about his discovery that he decided to test it on himself. But there was a problem. The process of transferring consciousness was dangerous and unpredictable. It could kill him, or it could turn him into something else entirely. But Victor was willing to take the risk. He wanted to live forever more than anything else in the world. Victor performed the experiment, and it worked, but not quite as he expected. He transferred his consciousness into a new body, but it wasn't his body. It was the body of a monster. The experiment had gone wrong, and Victor had become a monster. Victor was horrified. He didn't want to be a monster. He wanted to be human. But he soon realized that there was no way to change back. The experiment had permanently altered his DNA. He was stuck in this new form forever. But then something strange happened. As Victor looked at his reflection, he saw that the monster in the mirror wasn't just a physical monster. It was an emotional monster too. He was filled with rage and hatred and a desire for revenge. He hated the world for what it had done to him. He hated himself for what he had become. And then he started to laugh. Victor realized that becoming a monster might not be so bad after all. He might have lost his humanity, but he had gained something else, something powerful. He was now the monster under the bed, the monster in the closet, the monster in the shadows. He was the embodiment of all the fears that children have, and he loved it. Victor set out to spread fear and chaos across the world. He used his new powers to do evil things, and he felt good about it. Finally, he was living a life that was true to himself, a life without rules, a life without limits. He was free. Victor became known as the Shadowman, a mysterious figure who seemed to appear out of nowhere. He was always one step ahead of the police. They never knew what he was going to do next. He was the ultimate bad guy. But even though Victor was happy being a monster, he couldn't help but feel a little sad sometimes. He missed being human. He missed being able to feel love and compassion and empathy, but those were all weaknesses. And Victor was no longer weak. One day, the police finally caught up to Victor. They had him surrounded. He was trapped. But Victor didn't care. He was ready to die. In fact, he wanted to die. He was tired of being a monster. As the police closed in, Victor did something unexpected. He surrendered. He gave himself up without a fight. He went to prison and he was happy. Finally, he could be human again. But Victor's story doesn't end there. After he was in prison for a while, he started to feel like a monster again. He started to feel the rage and the hatred and the desire for revenge, and he realized that there was no cure for this. He was a monster, always had been, always would be. And that's why. But here's the chilling part. Prison did not contain Victor. It refined him. Locked away from the outside world, he had nothing but time. Time to think. Time to plan. Time to imagine all the ways he could bend science and fear to his will once he was free. Prisoners whispered about him at night. They said he never slept, that his eyes glowed faintly in the dark, that the guards avoided his cell block because they heard voices inside, voices that couldn't possibly belong to one man. Some swore that Shadowman could leave his cell whenever he wanted, but always chose to stay. Why? Because he was waiting for the right moment. And then something began to happen. Strange incidents swept through the prison. Entire wings lost power for hours, though the generators were untouched. Inmates had nightmares so vivid they woke up screaming, convinced Victor was standing at the foot of their beds. One guard even claimed his dead wife spoke to him in Victor's voice. Slowly, the prison itself became haunted, not by ghosts, but by Victor's growing powers. But what exactly had Victor become? Was he just a man trapped in a monstrous body? Or had his consciousness, the very essence of who he was, merged with something older, something darker? Some scholars would later theorize that in his desperate experiment, Victor had not only transferred his mind, but had opened a door to a realm of shadows. And whatever lurked on the other side stepped through, fusing with him forever. This made Victor more than human, more than monster. He was now something eternal, something unkillable. One night, during a violent storm, the prison alarms screamed. Cameras flickered and died. When the power returned, Victor's cell was empty. No tunnel, no broken bars, no evidence of escape. Just a single message carved into the stone wall. The Shadowman walks again. From that night onward, sightings of Shadowmen spread like wildfire. Small towns whispered of a figure in the dark, watching from rooftops. Cities reported unexplained blackouts. Entire neighborhoods claimed to feel watched whenever the sun went down. Parents told their children to stay indoors after dark, not because of superstition, but because people were disappearing. Victor, or whatever he had become, wasn't just living, he was thriving. No longer bound by human rules, he embraced his legend. Fear was his weapon, and the world was his laboratory. But here's the question: what if Victor didn't just want revenge anymore? What if immortality was only the beginning? Imagine a man who could spread his consciousness like a virus, infecting minds, rewriting souls, creating an army of living shadows. Imagine if Shadowman wasn't just one person anymore, but millions. That's when governments stepped in. Secret agencies classified him as a global threat. Files were locked away, experiments conducted in silence. But the truth leaked out in fragments, strange photos, eyewitness accounts, urban legends. Every country wanted to capture him, but none could. Victor was always a step ahead, just as he had been in life, in prison, and now in legend. And here's the terrifying truth. Some say Shadowman is still out there, right now, watching, waiting, hiding in the places where the light doesn't reach. Maybe even in the shadows of the room you're sitting in right now. Because Victor was right about one thing: death is not the end. Sometimes death is only the beginning of the nightmare.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this glimpse into medieval history, don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel, Iron and Ink Medieval Chronicles, where you can watch the full video and explore even more fascinating stories from the Middle Ages. If you found this interesting or learned something new, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content like this. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.